hardest work for a roller coaster is at the beginning. Getting started. Same for a right-sizing project. Tough to get started. Janine Bryant of Changing Spaces SRS knows that every day. Janine gets phone calls and emails from people asking for help in their right-sizing journey. That's why Janine and I are here every Sunday morning on Easy Right-Sizing on KFOR. Good morning, Janine.
Good morning, Dale.
I can so relate. I think I've started about 15 times on a right-sizing project. Did a little of it on vacation.
Oh, nice.
As a matter of fact.
Nice.
But it is tough getting started, isn't it?
It is, and I have to say, when it comes to right sizing, it's not hard for me to get started because, of course, I love it. But I can relate because it's hard for me to get started on a whole lot of other projects. And when you are starting a project of any kind that you don't particularly want to be doing, let's face it, it can be hard to get started. So it can really feel like you're kind of stuck in the mud and you're spinning your wheels and you're not making any progress. And boy, that is very defeating. And it makes you think, oh, whatever, let's just leave it and let the kids deal with it someday.
So you quit, you shut the door, and you go back to your family business.
And then after 5 or 10 years, it really piles up and you call Changing Spaces. And that's okay too. But for all of our listeners out there who want to get started right-sizing their stuff, I've got a few tips and tricks for getting started because boy, getting started, it really is, like you said, it's the hardest part, just that first step, because otherwise, once you get that little bit of that momentum built up, it gets a whole lot easier. So my first tip for getting through some of these tasks that seem like drudgery is, of course, to start small. So I have so many people who tell me I go down to the basement, I look at all that stuff over there, I get overwhelmed, I throw up my hands, and I go back upstairs. Don't think about your entire basement. Think about one room in your basement or one room on your second floor, one room on your main floor, okay? If one room is too much, then you pick one corner or even one closet, or if that's too much, you pick one drawer. Okay, you just start small. And then that's the first part of this first tip. The second part of this first tip is that when you start small, you have to stay focused on that small task until it is complete. So you start small and you stay focused. That's tip number one. In fact, this just happened to me this week. I got a phone call from someone actually who lives out in Washington, D.C., and he read about me in my alumni magazine from the place where I went to undergraduate. And he reached out to me because he said, after a little bit of small talk, he said, I have to confess, I'm calling you because I have a clutter problem. He called himself a bit of a hoarder, and he was otherwise an extremely successful professional living out in Washington, D.C., but he could not get a handle on his stuff, his clutter. So the first thing that we did is we talked about a priority list, and we made a list. Okay, what are the areas that need to be tackled? Is it your office? Is it your home? Is it, your kid's stuff? Is it your wife's stuff? Whatever. No, it's his stuff, he said. So we made a list. The first thing he needed to tackle was his storage unit. The second thing he needed to tackle was his home office. The third was the garage, and the fourth was the basement. It's a simple exercise, but just making that simple list, there are 4 things on that list, it now gives him a roadmap to start tackling, okay? One area at a time, and then you have to stay focused on that one area until you're complete. Okay, so the second tip, when you're feeling stuck, you have a hard time getting going, is to set a timer. And I have to do this with myself at least a couple times a week. Not with right sizing, but for me, it's email. Processing my email, oh, I hate it. And I get probably 50 to 75 emails every day. So I often have to set a timer on my phone. I set it for 30 minutes, and I tell myself, I am just going to do this for 30 minutes, and then I can stop. And you know what happens, Dale, you've probably heard this tip before, but once you've been going on a project for 30 minutes, the buzzer goes off and you find yourself, you're kind of in the middle of something and you just want to finish that up, and suddenly now you've been working for 45 minutes or maybe even an hour. Or maybe you think, thank goodness that buzzer finally went off and I'm ready to stop and move on to something else. That's okay, because you've made a little bit of progress, 30 minutes worth of progress. And if you do that every day for a week, that's what, 2.5 hours over 5 days? So you can really, those small increments of progress can really lead to big results. So that's tip number 2, set a timer. The third tip is to keep it simple when you're sorting, all right? First of all, when you pick something up, don't set it down again. Touch things only once. And when you pick it up, keep it simple. Think, am I going to keep it? Am I going to toss it? Am I going to donate it or sell it? Those are the only categories, right? Keep, toss, donate, and sell. And listeners of this program may have heard me talk about this before, but I want to caution you to be very picky about what you put in that, quote, sell pile. Because something that's interesting, take it from a professional who sells used stuff every single week at our estate sales. Selling your used stuff sounds a lot easier than it is. If you don't have a built-in audience, even with all of the technology that we have today, you can post it online, you can post it on Facebook. I tell you, it's still pretty hard to drum up interest in your used stuff. So if you are going to sell stuff, have a game plan for how that's going to happen. Are you going to have a garage sale? Are you going to sell some things online? Or if you're liquidating a large portion of your stuff, like an entire estate, then you can hire a company like mine, an estate sale company, or you can hire an auction company to do that for you. But if you're only selling a smaller amount of stuff, it's probably harder to get a business to help you because, quite frankly, there's not enough profit in it. There's not enough profit for you and the company to split. So I just want to put that bug in listeners' ears to be careful about the amount of stuff you put in that sell pile because it's a lot harder than a lot of people think to sell your used stuff. So, and then again, to only touch those objects once. When you pick up an item, think, am I keeping it, tossing it, donating it, or selling it? Put it in those piles, and then you actually got to do something with those piles. But if you set a timer and do that process for 30 minutes at a time, you're gonna get out of your rut and you're gonna start making progress. And boy, once you get that momentum, after you've done something for 30 minutes, the next day it doesn't seem quite as hard to do it for another 30 minutes. And if you need to put on your favorite radio station or a podcast or some music or whatever while you're doing it, so much the better. It just kind of helps you keep going and staying focused on, again, that one small task at a time.
And I've learned not to judge myself if I don't, by my own measuring stick, seem to have made progress. And the best example for me is reading letters.
Yes.
Reading letters are time consuming.
Yes.
And you don't want to throw something away that once you get into the letter, you find, I'm glad I read that because now that goes into my keep pile.
Absolutely.
So if you, at the end of the 30 minutes, you only have 3 letters there.
There you go.
Don't judge yourself.
That's right.
For that.
Absolutely. That's right. To be gentle with yourself. And if you feel like you need a coach or someone to hold your hand as you walk through that, that's something that Changing Spaces can do. There are a couple other professional organizers in town that we often refer to as well if it's a smaller project. And sometimes you just need, I always say, we're kind of like personal trainers for your stuff. And you just need someone to, sit beside you. And maybe they do say, okay, Dale, all of those letters that your grandmother wrote, let's put those in a pile and you can read through them tonight.
Oh, that's a good point.
While you're having a cup of tea. And then let's keep going through the rest of this clutter.
See, this is why you're a pro.
There you go.
I would have read 3 letters in 30 minutes.
Yeah, well.
Instead of bundling them up and doing them in my leisure time at the end of the day. Good point.
Yep. So just keeping you on track, that's what we do at Changing Spaces SRS. We help folks decide, make difficult decisions, and we don't push. It's always the client's decision. They're always right. But we can give gentle nudges and good suggestions and great advice. And then we just kind of walk them through that process, start to finish, helping them keep the best and get rid of the rest. That's really our motto.
And you have the benefit of putting new eyes on old objects.
Yes, absolutely.
Because for people, and I'm throwing myself into that group, who are seeing these items over and over, not realizing that maybe I have 5 of something.
Yes, absolutely.
And don't need 5 of that.
Yep. Or, you were just telling me about going through this box of old letters. What if we were working with you, we might encourage you to identify, okay, let's keep all the letters that you are from your mother, but maybe the letters from your third cousins we can get rid of. Or maybe the letters that are water stained or ripped up we can get rid of. And then let's keep the best of those. It's all about setting a limit. And if all the letters fit into one shoebox, then great. You can keep that the rest of your life, no problem. But if you've got 4 huge boxes of letters, maybe we need to sort through it.
And it also helps to realize the importance that it has in my life. High school really didn't mean a lot to me, and my mom saved high school things. All right? So that's not as important to me as it is afterwards. And when I had kids, my mom started saving things that meant something to me through my son. So I'm realizing those life points.
It changes over time, doesn't it? Yeah, I think that is a whole other topic for another show, but I have found that certainly. I think that some things that you keep when you're younger, my example is, the baby shower. Women who have a baby shower, they save the little napkin that has the name and the date on it, and they save the invitation, and they save the topper for the cake and all the decorations and everything. And, in 25 years, when your child is grown, you probably don't need all of those reminders of your baby shower. You maybe need a couple pieces from your baby shower, not 17 pieces. So those keepsakes tend to change over time, which is why it's good to continually cull through them and throw out the rest and keep the best.
Tell us about your teaching, which starts soon.
Yes, that's right. I am teaching a class through SEC, Continuing Education class. It's a non-credit class, but boy, I tell you, it's going to be worth every penny. It's going to meet 3 nights, Monday nights from 6 to 8 p.m., starting September 21st. 28th and October 5th. And you can register by calling SEC. The phone number is 402-437-2700. That's 437-2700. And the class is called Easy Rightsizing. So just let them know you'd like to register for the Easy Rightsizing class. It's $75, and it's going to help you create a personalized approach to your right-sizing journey.
If this is the first opportunity you've had to listen to the conversation here, every Sunday morning we're here on KFOR. You can learn more about Changing Spaces SRS, the tips, the videos, the resources. Visit easyrightsizing.com. There's also Facebook and there's Instagram. And you're starting estate sales back up and online auctions.
That's right. You can shop with us 2 ways. We talk about getting rid of your stuff, but if you want to buy some more stuff, you can shop from us in-person estate sales or online auctions, and you can find all about it on our website.
We talk about it here on Easy Rightsizing.